If you can get a pro to play your stuff because he or she likes the clubs, that's the best endorsement there is.
And folks, without further ado, Jason Hiland, the CEO of Sub 70. Jason, thank you for being on Big Boy Pants Golf, YouTube's hottest golf channel.
Hey, I appreciate it. We had fun with the last one and can't wait to do this. Thanks for having me on.
In 2015, you came up with basically what I consider now a genius idea. You wanted to start your own boutique golf club company. And in 2015, this was when the seeds of creativity hit you. Tell us about how you went from 2015 to coming up with this idea to 2018 to actually bring out Sub 70 golf clubs.
Yeah, so I've been in golf my whole life, right? So I started in the early 90s in the traditional retail shop, played college golf. I've yet to have a real, job in life. I'm trying to keep it that way. But, you're always innovating and thinking about different ways to do it. So I was in the arena and I wanted to do like a really high-end, custom-made boutique type thing. Because when we built our own clubs at the shop, we would do all the things we do for Sub 70, right? We would, swing weight them all, like we wanted them, get the exact grip, put an extra rip tape on the bottom, like all these cool things, like how we build our stuff. So I wanted to bring that to the mainstream market. And we were wondering, like, how do we make it different? How do we make a splash? And it's a funny story. I needed a suit. And I don't wear suits very often because I'm like, internet based, right? Like I can kind of dressed like this and no one really notices, right? Like chill pretty much. So I was watching CNBC one morning and they had the CEO of Combatant Gentlemen on, and he used to work for Hugo Boss, and he started a company that sold the suit directly to you from a warehouse in California, right? And it came in a really nice box, but you had to get it tailored locally.
You're seeing these suits with $1,000 plus price tags, but we've made them accessible to every guy.
And the suit was like $180, but he's like, it's the quality of like a lower end Hugo Boss suit, like an $800 or $900 suit. Materials, craftsmanship's the same. And a lot of Wall Street guys were wearing, younger traders were wearing their button down as well, and they loved it, right? So I'm like, it kind of makes sense to me, right? Like direct to consumer is like talking about all the fluff that was in the marketing for Hugo Boss. If you actually knew what it cost to make the suit, you would be shocked, So I ordered the suit from Combatant Gentlemen. It came in this cool box, and the quality was really nice. My next door neighbor's an eye surgeon who wears really nice suits every day, and he's riding my ass over this, right? Like, you cheap bastard. Can't believe you're buying less than $200 suit. I'm like, wait till this thing gets done. I'm telling you, it looks great. He's like, well, don't show it to me. Just show me once it gets fitted and everything. So I get it tailored for $50 or whatever, right? So, and I don't want to look like shit in a suit, right? Like I'm going to Chicago with a wife or something. Like I don't need a Brioni, but I don't want to look, like I'm wearing a cheap suit. So get the suit tailored, call my buddy next door, comes over and looks at it. He's like, holy hell, like it's a really good looking suit. Like how much, he was like blown away of how good the drape material all worked, right? And I had this idea for Sub 70, and that's the moment it hit me of like, okay, if I'm doing this with a suit where I'll go, get it kind of custom tailored, but the box comes to the house and I'm like $230 all in. It's direct to consumer. I get it. And the brand is kind of cool and it's different. This can work, I think, with golf clubs. We're direct to consumer, right? And we hand build everything. But I remember like direct to consumer, like in 2008, 7, 10, it was more like cheaper items, right? Like Shinola came about and changed the world for watches and leather goods. I buy it directly. Combatant Gentlemen for suits and dress shirts. So I got inspiration from buying a suit, and then, we knew we could custom build and do it the right way, and then reach people with technology and cut the middle guy out. So we figured we could build essentially a better mousetrap, hand-built, custom-made, higher quality, but a better price point because we don't need somebody else marking it up another 40%.
This is awesome. I don't know if you know the comedian Jimmy O Yang. He's an Asian comedian.
People love to brag about how much money they spend. Asian people, on the other hand, we do the exact opposite. We love to brag about how little money we spent on some because the art is in the savings. You never pay full price.
And he talks about how, for Asians, the bragging point is about the savings.
Like my mom, her catchphrase is guess how much. That's our people.
So as an Asian dude, I want to get the best deal for my money.
Yeah, and the other difference is we knew if we did it right, the biggest thing too was being able to custom make everything. Like nothing we have is pre-boxed or made overseas and then sent to us. So even stock, if you get a dynamic gold S300 and a cross-line grip, standard lie, standard length, it's still hand-built in Sycamore, Illinois, to make sure that the quality is where we want it. So the other idea was, can we bring that boutique aspect of it or the customization to make the company different than other companies that are out there? So it's a matter of bringing a higher quality product along with a better way of delivering it to the customers, in our opinion.
So it's basically a triple win. You're getting a better price. You're getting it customized. You can personalize it as much as you want.
Mm-hmm.
And with the markup, as you're pointing out, let's look into these advertisements that TaylorMade puts out. You got all these stars. They're sitting in a room. Tiger Woods has to answer a question about, hey, does anyone know what bounce is? And he, very basic stuff. But you, as the consumer, are kicking in.
100%.
Just TaylorMade clubs. So it's insanity. These, I don't need those commercials. I want my money to go to the product and the personalization.
So we wanted to make sure that the clubs were still played at the highest level, right? And we had Tommy Armour III playing on the Champions Tour, and ZF Zach Fisher was playing on Corn Ferry Tour, and Daly's playing this stuff now, right? And we've never spent a lot of money, we don't pay JD anything. We're under no contracts, likes the clubs. Tommy, we have a deal with, helps us develop clubs, and we help Zach out a little bit just to, as playing the Corn Ferry Tour. There's not much money for those guys out there, right? Like it's a tough one, right? But we wanted to show Eric Flores is playing over the Challenge Tour in Europe. Guys will play it who are doing it for a living. Now, I've asked customers this, like, if you want me to go sign, I'm just going to use a nice player, Denny McCarthy, who's, a really good player. It'd probably cost $250,000 a year for me to pay him to play the irons and wedges, for example. That's going to the clubs are going to have to go up by that dollar amount for everybody's club to say Denny's playing it. And nothing against Denny McCarthy, great player. But I don't know, I don't believe our as long as our customers know there's a group playing it on tour, I don't know if they want to pay the extra money for me to sign multitudes of guys on tour to reinforce something we already are doing. But we're just not going to go sign a PGA Tour superstar, at least right now, because I don't think the ROI for us is worth it. And I got to charge more for the clubs. It goes on the bottom line every month.
I say no to signing these professional golfers and paying them big money. Can you say it again for the fans at home? John Daly is playing these clubs without a contract.
Yeah, no, we have no contract with JD. Like TA3 introduced us. We built him some irons. He put them in play. We don't have, and he could go and play something else tomorrow, right? Like I always tell John, like you're playing for a living. You do you first. And a lot of the guys in the Champions Tour at this point, don't have club contracts because just the companies aren't paying like they used to once Nike got out. So there's more access to the Champions Tour guys. And keep in mind too, for what that contract might be worth, third place pays for it, right? So a lot of the guys out there are brand agnostic. They want to play the ball they want to play. They don't want to have a 12 or 13 club deal plus a ball. They want to play maybe a TaylorMade driver, sub 70 irons, a Vokey wedge, and a Bridgestone golf ball. I don't know, whatever works best for them. But for JD, we have a great relationship with him. He loves the product, but it's really organic. Like there's no club contract. There's just a handshake of anything he needs. We'll help him with, but he is free to play anything he wants to, and he's playing our TA3 wedges and our 659. He's played both the blades on the TA model and the CB irons, but no, we don't. We literally don't pay him anything.
You can't get a better endorsement for your product than the fact that you don't have to pay for someone to endorse your product.
Yeah, I mean that's a good one, right? If they're willing. Same with when we started working with TA, he played the products before we became partners in the TA3 products, which he helps develop. He played them on tour because he loved the clubs, and he really believed in the brand. And we didn't pay him until we started having him help us design it. Of course, then he's part of the team at this point and using his expertise. But if you can get a pro to play your stuff because he or she likes the clubs, that's the best endorsement there is, right? I mean, it's obviously I'm humbled and honored JD is playing it. And he's a really great human being on top of it. Like he's exactly how you think he would be. He's really kind, honest. Like I really enjoy the time I've got to spend with him.
I just want to throw this out there. When Sergio Garcia won the Thailand Open, John Daly was in that field, and I followed him around 9 holes basically alone, me and John Daly and his caddy. So I got to watch firsthand his caddy getting the ice, the Diet Cokes every hole, and
Cigarettes
no
being
hat on.
smoked.
No hat on. It's insane. It's so hot out there. And then I would go follow Sergio for the next 18. But it was just an amazing experience. The guy is awesome, a true legend, and probably, to me, top 5 physically gifted golfers of all time.
TA says he's number 1. He's the most talented.
Top 5.
Yeah,
Top 5
he's
at
the
least.
most talented, raw talent. Tommy says the most raw, talented golfer he's ever played with.
When you can win the British Open and not remember winning the British Open, you're pretty good.
He's the talent in that man's body is incredible, right? It's I mean, like I said, you summed it up. He really is a legend, and it's cool because he's a hero of mine growing up, right? And it's cool when your heroes turn out to also be, really good dudes, and he's a really good dude. Jay Armour came on as a partner, which does, helps our marketing and kind of helps run the company as well. And then, we already had a golf component company and another company that kind of bought in large bulk, Diamond Tour and Hurricane Golf. So we had some infrastructure in play to know how to do this project. But the toughest thing was, and it wasn't really, it was tough, but we had time to do it. The nice thing is I could make a living off the other businesses, so I didn't have a gun to my head to have to rush this. But we knew the products had to perform as good, if not better, as the big boys out there, right? So if we're going to say we're going to do this, the clubs have to perform. And that's what we took our time with, to make sure when we first launched this thing, they were really, really good. And we won some MyGolfSpy awards, and Golf Digest featured us. Like, it hit pretty quick. Our big break was when Kelkovecchia put our first generation pro fairway woods in play and put a social media post out there. We didn't pay Kelk to play them, and people kind of saw the brand a little bit, then went, holy shit. And then TA started playing them that first year, right? And then it just took on a life of its own, of this kind of niche-y, boutique-ish brand that's kind of doing stuff a little bit different. So yeah, that 3 years was just really trying to get a game plan together of how we would market it, what we wanted the soul of the company to kind of feel like, what values do we want to put out there, and then let's develop the products to make sure that they perform at the highest level. And we don't do product life cycles. It's like when we think we can make that next segment of that product better, that's when we kind of do it. So we're not under a tight timeline to have to change something up every year or something like that.
Jason, I have a quick question for you.
Yeah.
In terms of MyGolfSpy, which company did they select as the number 1 leading direct-to-consumer golf club manufacturer?
That would be us.
I think you kind of glossed over it. It's a little bit too much humble for us. I want that out there.
Yeah, they see it all, right? And, that was a survey based on out to their customers, of how, what's your experience like with the direct-to-consumer market golf brands. And, yeah, we came out on top of that from, a customer service aspect, quality of products, and we won a couple of their events against the big boys as well, which really helped in year 1. Like our first 699 iron did really good, our putters did good, the wedges did really great in the testing. So then, that really helps brand credibility, because you can say it all you want to, but you need your customers and you need independent people to review the stuff to make sure that what you're saying is backed up by reality. And that brand, like MyGolfSpy or Golf WRX, is looked upon as being honest brokers, which they are.
That's huge. When you get an independent out, a third party comes in and says, you guys have made the best direct-to-consumer golf clubs there is. That's how people get interested. It brings people on board to at least investigate.
Right.
Let's get back into your design background. You came up personally with the 639 CB design. However, the actual manufacturing place who makes your clubs came up with the 699. So how do you figure out who makes what clubs and how this all comes together? Because it's truly amazing that you can do this. I don't understand how your background is. Are you just sitting around thinking and then you take a napkin out and you sketch out an iron? And then also, on the other hand, you have this manufacturing company.
Yeah. So yes, on the 639, I just kind of took clubs over the years I really liked and kind of used as inspiration. And then you can still you still do a CAD drawing and you can test it computer-wise to make sure it makes sense. You have to move mass. But I kind of come up on the forge stuff. I come up with the general ideas, right? So I would say when we started, we had to do this kind of on a shoestring, right? In the sense that we didn't have $1 million to throw at R&D, but we had, me being in the business for so long, I had really good connections and help. So like we were a really great garage band, if that makes sense, right? There was some talent there. So on like the 699 iron, I never had developed a hollow body technology. And when we were doing that, was just kind of coming out of basically you make an iron like a hybrid or a titanium driver where the face is used with a real thin steel and it's variable face thickness, it's cup faced, generalizing. Then the face flexes like a driver, right? And I've never done one of those before. And they have engineers at the factory I work with that I've, known for years. And I basically called in a favor and I said, hey, if this works, I'm going to be working with you guys. Can you give me a couple of your engineers and can you help me with this? And they said, absolutely. Like, we believe in what you're doing. We like the concept. So I had like help from pros, people in the industry, the shaft companies helped me. If I needed a favor or go test this or what do you think? Like, I brought the best people I could on board to help. And it was a garage band with talent. And that's how we got this thing kind of over the hump. I did not do it all. I did some of the stuff, but I had a lot of people who were smarter than I am help with the stuff. And everyone kind of like kicked in to get it started.
But the initial designs, you're bringing concepts from other models that you'd liked in the past, and then you're also sketching it out, or
right.
Like concrete.
Yeah, I sort of just hand draw it at first, right? And then you put it into CAD files and take a look at it. But like I'm not like saying we're copying one club or something, but everything has an inspiration, right? I'll take a little of this toe design from this iron I liked from Hogan in the 80s, and this looked good. Okay, we got to put the center of gravity here. And you just start, it's not like, you just start playing around with it. And then at first, not all of them are going to be really great, right? And then you throw that away. Then if you're onto something with another prototype, you're like, okay, these numbers are looking really good, right? This is doing what it wants to do. Okay, but we got to move the weight here a little on the 7 iron. Then you run some programs on it, right, through engineering, and be like, what do you guys see back at the factory again? Like, do you think we can improve this anywhere? And you just keep going down the road. And that's why it took 3 years, not 3 months, because we just didn't we've never taken like an open mold head and just slapped our name on it, right? Then you have to go test it. Then you have to have humans go and test it. How does it feel? Because you can hit on a robot all you want, but then you got to have people take them out and hit them. So yeah, it's a lot of times I'll do wedges and forged irons. The only one I don't do with the forged stuff is like with Tommy. Tommy does the TA3 stuff, right? Of kind of what he wants, but we work together. That stuff, because it's a forged one-piece head, you're not wanting the face to jump. It's not as tough from an engineering standpoint of stuff that's pushing the envelope. When you get into hollow body, like our V2 and V3, I'm hiring an outside firm to help me with that, to design it, right? Because now we do have the budget to do it. Now it's like we got the first one over the hump, and the factory's like, hey, we helped you on the first one, but we're not doing this every time for you. So then I bring out, when I need help, I'll be the first to admit it. Our company needs help from this firm, and then we, instead of having engineers full time at our place, we hire by the job. For like our new driver that we'll have out this fall and stuff. We need help beyond our group to make that happen, to get to the quality that we wanted at.
Tell us all about the first time you had the irons that are going to be ready to go. You're playing them, actually. You're loving them. And then you sell your first batch.
Yeah, I remember the first sale that Sub 70 did. It was a putter, actually. It was a putter. We sold an 001 putter, which we still have. Like, we haven't changed that one at all. It works really good. Yeah, I remember those first couple sales, and then calling the customer, like when we would have, 4 sales a week, and be like, how's it working? And really trying to get customer feedback, right? And the excitement that is, that this thing, somebody trusted enough to reach out, work with us, get our advice, build the club, and he or she's happy with them. And that's the greatest feeling, because the thing I care about most is, the customer being happy with it. If somebody bought something from us and it is not working, I want them to tell us. And we've learned so much from the direct-to-consumer model, right? Because I'm talking to the users. If I had a middle person at a PGA Tour Superstore, I would probably never actually talk to the end user. And we've had a lot of great feedback from that relationship that we build with the customers.
I mean, that's huge. It is. Once you cut out the middleman, you actually get the honest feedback as well, as you're pointing out.
Correct. And that's so you take a lot of that, you start to see patterns of when you develop a new series, What are you seeing in this series that you start to see a pattern that customers might want X, or this is good and this isn't as great as it could be? And you start putting that in your head and you start thinking, okay, how do we incorporate this in the next design? So you're learning constantly. The golf ball changes, right? So how does the golf ball change make us design equipment a little bit different, you know? So it's you are paying attention. I'm thinking about this, talking to people constantly. It's never just, oh, the product's done, I'm not going to do anything for 2 years till we start thinking about doing it again, or whatever that time period is. Like, it's a constant, what's going on, what can we learn, and what feedback are we getting?
Do you think you have a competitive advantage against the bigger names because you are a smaller company, you can move faster and be more agile?
Well, I say this, every major company, the quality of products has never been better, right? It's really hard to go wrong. And I remember in the 90s, you know, like when I was in college, there was some good runs of product. You're close enough to remember too. There was, every company had good stuff and bad stuff, and it could depend on the year and the run, right? Now everyone's equipment is really, really good. So I will always say the Mizunos and Strixons and TaylorMades, those guys do a great job, man. I mean, they sell $500 million a year of golf clubs. Like, it's good stuff. It's really good stuff. What our advantage could be, A, everything is custom built, right? So, and then B, the price point of which we can do it at, right? So I think our products are every bit as good. Like our new driver coming out, I think is probably, I've never said this about a product, but I think it's, you know, I'll put it up against anything in the world and we'll see what it looks like, right? Like the testing of it's been out of this world good. So our products are up there with anybody else's stuff. Our advantage is the ability to, and I don't want to be arrogant enough to say like our stuff is better than X, Y, or Z, because like I said, you got to pay those companies respect. Titleist sells $1 billion a year worth of stuff, but it's every bit as good. I'm very comfortable saying that. We can do like cool stuff, like, you know, you want it lasered, or if we work with somebody else and they want to do, like, we're working with Tag Writings, you know, he's working on a blade. We will do a limited edition run of Tag's iron as he gets ready for the Champions Tour with the weights all in the back and this funky, weird design that's badass cool that, you know, Tag has kind of done. I think the cool thing we do is these little boutique sort of projects that probably the big guys aren't going to do because it's kind of too boutiquey, too nichey, and I love that shit. Like, working with Tag to get him, you know, a blade that he really wants. And we just, like, started working on it, right? Like, just started grinding on how do we make a perfect blade for him? And then our customers will like that sort of one-off boutique-ish. We'll probably do a limited run of sets of them and do these cool sort of, like a special whiskey from a certain whiskey maker. Like those guys do small batch stuff. I like the small batch stuff ideas that we kind of do. I think that's a little bit of a different thing we can do. But every major manufacturer's, the quality's never been higher.
So for every major manufacturer, the quality's never been higher. But my understanding is that golf club manufacturers make it out of the same 5 factories or plants in China, correct?
A lot of the guys, us included, will use those really high-end factories to do the work because you can trust that it's done the same way every single time, right? So you know, we never go shopping on price when we're working with a factory overseas. I never change my guys. I know what a fair price should be. And those big companies do the same thing where if you're Cobra Golf, that driver has to be built to that level of quality every single time when they're ordering hundreds of thousands of pieces. Not every factory in the world can do that level of quality. So yes, a lot of the factories get used by the same manufacturers, but it's your own equipment. If it's a forging, it's your own, you know, pressing, it's your own mold. If it's a casted club, you're not using other people's stuff, but you are paying for the competency of the higher end factories. And yes, it's smaller than one would think of how many factories are doing high end stuff. Correct.
So in terms of the high end stuff, everyone's using the same places, but there's no point in having a high end golf club if it isn't fit to you perfectly.
Yes, we would rather have the club fit you than you have to adapt to the golf club. Correct. So that's an advantage that we have all these different shafts. We have all these different grips. If you want it 1.5 degrees upright, we can do it, right? If you want a half set because you struggle to get the ball up in the air, we can build them 7 on up in irons, then 5-6 hybrid for you. That's the advantage because that's how we always would build our own clubs. Even before I had sub 70, I would grab one of these, one of that, change this, you know, like we would build it by hand to my game. Not just grabbing it off the rack and trying to work around it. You know, I'm a little bit taller. My clubs are a little bit longer, but still I get the exact shaft I want, the exact head design I want. And, my stuff, it's, you would make it to fit your game, not having everything match, if that makes sense.
It's just like your suit analogy. You can get a great Hugo Boss suit, but if it isn't the right cut, you don't get the shoulders right, you look ridiculous.
Correct. You have to have a good. When I bought the suit from Combatant Gentleman, it was a very good quality suit. To make it look nice drape-wise, you have to take it to a tailor who knows what they're doing. And then you get a custom cut on the suit. Exactly. It's like buying a suit off the rack and not having it tailored, right? And there's a difference of how it fits. You can play with it. You can wear the suit, but it's not quite the same as having it custom made for you.
To continue the tailor analogy further, you're using the same fabric and materials, the same people as TaylorMade and Titleist, but you're getting the better tailor almost option to make sure it fits perfectly to that person.
Yes, I will say not what specific brands. I won't say that, but major manufacturers and sub 70 use the same factory. I'll put it to you that way. Yeah, so the level of, and that's what I mean, like the quality of that factory, like let's say it builds our 699s, right? That factory does great work. So when you bring them your CAD drawings and you pay for the molds and you start making the product, you are paying for that club to be perfect basically every time you get it from them, without problems. You pay for competency, you pay for quality. And there's a reason those bigger companies that bigger than we are, more traditional brands, let's call them, use those same factories because they do really good work. But everyone's stuff is still different, right? They won't disclose what I'm doing and they won't disclose what they're doing for the other brands, right? But those factories are doing work for the best golf companies in the world.
Well, they won't tell you for free, but if you slip them $50.
No, they'll help you, right? There's no bribing them. But which is good because I don't want my stuff out there too. We have our first patent on the driver that's coming out. Like that needs to stay private, right? So, but what they will do is they will, if asked for, like we did with our first 699 iron or help with anything, if you ask their help, they have really smart engineers over there that can help as well. So like I said, I use everybody I can, try to make the product as good as we can make it.
You currently have 13 different iron options up. Am I correct?
Yes, probably a few too many. There's going to be some going away. We were a little heavy on inventory with COVID. Ordering was a nightmare, even last year, of how long runs took. So we were a little heavy on some of the older stuff we're closing out, like the original 699 and 639. Hoping in 2025, we're probably down to, 5 to 7 irons would kind of fit the whole niche of what we're doing. So ideally not that many, but we were safe than sorry in making sure we had enough inventory versus running out was kind of the idea.
Now your clubs, these 13 models, run in price range from $70 to $125.
Yep.
How are you crushing it so much in the price range, whereas these major manufacturers, it's almost $180 plus tax per club, per iron, and it just seems like there's so much of a disparity in the price that how could people not go out and get fit for sub 70?
Well, they're just, because those companies have done a great job of branding themselves, right? People are comfortable with Titleist. They've heard of it. Like, we're a newer company. It's going to take time, right? So I'm going to give props to those other major companies that Titleist has been successful for 50, 60 years. It's a strong brand, right? Cleveland Strixon, it's a strong brand. It's more of a newer way of thinking about doing it, right? And sometimes change is hard. I would say, golf definitely doesn't change quickly. It's starting to, it's sort of like music on the golf course or dress code changes. It takes a while to go through it. But those brands have done, TaylorMade has made great drivers for a long period of time, and they have an audience for it, and they've earned that. So, we got a lot of work to do because there's some really good brands out there that we think our model is better. I think our model is more efficient. I think we can do a better product and save you money at the same time. But we also realize there's some really iconic brands that are out there that we got to compete against, and we got to work hard every day to compete against it. And the main difference in the price is we're not selling to somebody else who marks it up 40 to 50%. And we're not paying that tour staff level of 30 guys on tour that it has to get added to the bottom line of the golf club. There's no other way around it. I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I'm just saying you're going to be paying more for the club if that's part's important to you. If you want to have to buy it at a retail store and you want to see a guy on TV on the PGA Tour playing it, you're going to pay more for it. We're more in the sense of we're going to stay to our plan in the long run from a quality aspect and let the performance of the club and the price point that we can do it at kind of be our blowhorn per se.
It's interesting that you point out how much these companies have to pay these athletes to pay their products. My question for you now is, what's the difference between Nike Golf and Sub 70?
Well, Nike Golf from a golf club standpoint, because they're no longer.
Exactly.
Right.
I thought you'd have picked up on that a little faster.
Yes. Well, I didn't know if you're talking about the clothing side or the hard goods side, but yeah, I mean, it failed in the sense of it never caught fire, right? Even though you had Tiger, and the other problems with the Nike stuff was, and the industry guys would know this, the products were never great. It was never up to, even before Sub 70, of what TaylorMade was doing or Mizuno was doing or Srixon or Cleveland was doing, right? They were always kind of behind the eight ball, in my opinion. And they only got people to play it because they paid. And then rumor, word got out the stuff wasn't great. And then it never sold that well, right? And then all of a sudden they're putting all this money on marketing and they're like, well, why are we doing this to lose money? We can sell golf shirts and make a hell of a lot more. So it was kind of overhyped and underperformed. And golfers are pretty smart. They'll figure it out quick. You need to probably overperform. And if you're going to do the hype, the product better hold up to the level it needs to be at, right? And I don't think their stuff ever quite got over the hump to be as good as the competition was at that time. That's just my opinion.
Well, I think that's the correct answer. The clubs were known to be junk. There's a questionable aspect in terms of, could Tiger have won more had he not been playing junk?
Well, Bridgestone, I believe, was making his ball for him. So, right. So that's why that relationship kind of got to where it was. He was not playing the ball out of the club, the standard ball, right? I would say probably the club that I would always wonder that with if he wasn't playing the Nike driver, right? If he would have had a TaylorMade driver or a Titleist driver at that time, how much would have that potentially helped him? That would be the biggest one that I always, because he played blades, and then, kind of they would just do the shape of his old Mizunos, I believe, and make a blade's kind of a blade. If you do your own pressings, like a Tiger pressing the way you had it, not a huge issue. Wedges, pretty straightforward, get the grind he wants. But I always wondered, if you had that driver at the time that was viewed as a better product, what would have that done?
One more kind of pseudo Tiger Woods question for you, and then we'll continue. Do you think it's a little weird that Scotty Scheffler is playing TW irons when he's the number one player in the world, and they could maybe make some SS on his irons and make like a Scotty Scheffler iron?
Well, they could do that for him. My guess is they really work well for him, so he's not going to change it. There's no reason to change. There's no reason to go down that rabbit hole. If you look at his stats, I would tell him, don't change any piece of equipment or anything you're doing right now. Maybe the driver at the start of the year. It's a old school kind of blade in that TW model, right? And he obviously plays them great. So for him, my guess is the numbers look so good and he's so comfortable with it, it doesn't matter, right? He's comfortable playing that club.
Here's my question for you, though. He's playing, I think, the Srixon Z85 3 and 4 irons.
Mm-hmm.
So now I guess he has in his contract, he can play a couple non-TaylorMade clubs, and he goes right into Srixon.
Mm-hmm. Well, he's doing it the smart way, right? Let's just call it brand agnostic, and he's found probably a little bit more forgiveness and help on that model that works for him. And that's where Sub 70, not that we're in Scheffler's bag or anything, but we are getting more opportunities as we're growing for a club or two in guys' bags. And pros are starting to do, the club manufacturers want more clubs and the ball in their bag. And pros, because the money is so crazy in pro golf anymore, right? You can say what you want about live golf, but it made the PGA Tour purse go up more. That finish in 4th over 7th in one event could be the difference. You make more money than the club contract. So the question is, do you want to have to play 12 clubs and the new ball every year? Or do you sign a different deal for less money, but you have more brand agnostic choices to play what you feel are most comfortable with? And there's getting more and more opportunities for more companies like ourselves to get into players' bags because it's starting to go the other way where the money is so great that some of the pros are taking a different look on the branding. Maybe they put a software company on their bag, do more outings for that than purely having a club contract anymore. Of course, there's some guys who do it, and there's some of the contracts worth doing. But there's more opportunity than there's ever been to have that situation where, hypothetically, even a player like Scheffler, we could have one, not that we have anything with Scotty, I don't know him personally, but we could have a long iron in his bag, right? There's those opportunities are starting to open up a little bit as the contracts, a lot of players are not taking full club contracts like they used to.
To me, that's the most interesting analysis of what's in a player's bag is that random club that sticks out. Mm-hmm. That maybe it's a few years. Remember Scotty Scheffler a few years ago, he was still playing an old Nike 3-wood forever.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, so it's weird to see that, you have all these technological advances, but these guys will have a couple of these clubs that just still manage to stick around. Or is that random one that sticks out? Schauffele has a random Mizuno, like 3-iron in his bag.
Bernard Langer had those old Adams stuff from like 15 years ago, right? And 12 years ago, probably. They work for him, right? It goes the same distance he wants it to go. So sometimes these guys get a golf club and they have such confidence in it and it flies the right yardage every time, right? So maybe there'd be some tech to get more distance, but they don't care about that. They want that 4 utility club to fly the distance they need it to every time. Even though it might be 6 years old, it works, right? So, and it kind of shows like why we don't do product life cycles or having to do something new every single year. There's some of the best players in the world. They have equipment that's way more than a year old, right? Once the tech changes, yeah, we'll change with it, but you don't need a new set of clubs every year is what I'm trying to say, right? There's some clubs that, we always tell people 5 years, you should be your shelf life on this stuff, right? And you got some, I think Poulter just put a 3-wood in from 15 years ago or 12 years ago as well. Yes. It must fly right for him. It goes through that window, that he sees the window and it goes through the window. So yeah, man, golf's hard enough, right? There's no written rules. If it goes the distance and like I said, you're starting to see more of these, let's just call it, well, that's an interesting club when they do like what's in the bag than you used to see when Nike was paying everybody, right? Then you saw, okay, for that amount of money, I'll play them. But it's starting to lessen up a little bit, which is advantageous for a smaller brand like ours to get in some of these guys' bags, which is, kind of what happened with JD, right? I mean, he was looking for something and we got to work for him.
Now I know sub 70s. Now your goal is to get more international.
Yeah.
How many countries are you in right now? And what's the plan to expand?
Yeah, 14 countries right now that we have partnerships in. And we want to make a bigger, Europe would kind of be our next spot where we want to be able to have control, set up a sub 70, not with essentially a partnership, but us probably doing that. It's maybe a year or two out. That we want to have what we have in Sycamore, Illinois, somewhere in Europe. So, but yeah, I mean, the brand is growing internationally, which is really kind of cool to see. And, it needs to be a global brand to be a successful brand. It's kind of crazy anymore when you think about expansion. In 1975, you would have gone from Sycamore, Illinois to Terre Haute, Indiana. And now you're going from Sycamore, Illinois to India, right? The world is so flat, like you'd think about it in those terms versus states anymore. But yeah, no, it's been well received. Do a lot of business in Korea, South Africa, obviously Europe we've done really well with. Great partner in Canada. So yeah, I mean, it needs to be a global brand. And our next big push would be like really establishing a production facility and team in Europe at some point here in the next couple of years. Your
tagline is expectations redefined. What does that mean to you?
That a direct-to-consumer company can do products and service and customization at this level. Because when we first started the concept in 15, most direct-to-consumer was lower-end stuff, and price point, and that was fine. So the expectations redefined kind of meant for that model to have it redefined of your thinking of the quality, the craftsmanship, and the boutique-ish sort of element or coolness to it in that traditional model, which used to just be, how can we make it cheaper? So we thought it kind of fit, a new generation of direct-to-consumer models, which you've seen with a bunch of other brands. Because it's Shady Ray sunglasses, Shinola, with watches. They make great products, and it doesn't have to cost, $25,000 for a watch.
That lid you're wearing is awesome. Sub 70 apparel. Let's compare it a little bit because I know that Malbon Golf is entering the space of golf apparel.
Yeah.
You listen to the CEO, and he's all about, you want to make the apparel cool, which kind of pulls people into the game.
Yeah.
I think sub 70s also, there's a big opportunity to do that because you've got some fresh and popping apparel. All right. It looks good. It's like, back in the day, the surfers, the skateboarders, you see the apparel first, and now you don't want to be a poser. So now you got to go try to skateboard and try to gleam the cube or what have you.
We sell more streetwear than we do golf clothes, if that makes any sense, which is now the line's getting blurred anyway, right? Like I'm in a hoodie and a flat bill, and I would wear this golfing, in a millisecond play, right? So we thought the logo would look really good on clothing. It stands out. It looks good. And then we just developed clothes essentially that we would want to wear more of that casual look with a little bit of slight edge to it, right? Like you could wear it, on a Friday afternoon, not golfing, but you could literally wear it golfing too. Wear that, kind of a new way of doing it, right? Where I would say, traditional golf clothes used to look really traditional, right? And now, where is that line between crossing over to play golf and lifestyle of clothing, right? We didn't we didn't think about it. We just kind of made stuff like, what would we want to wear and be comfortable in? And we sell more t-shirts and lightweight hoodies. And we have golf shirts that are really nice, but we're selling more lifestyle stuff than actual golf clothes that can go. So like the look you got going on right now, sub 70 hat and a t-shirt on and more chill. That's kind of where our clothing line is going more than just traditional golf wear.
It's almost like you're talking about a mullet where, from the front, I can go into any business meeting, but in the back, let's do
Let
this.
the party happen. Let's
make this happen, right? You know what I'm saying? So,
yeah.
You and I have that similar type of mindset where you're just like, it can be best of both worlds here. Malbon Golf, on the other hand, while you guys again are price conscious, Malbon's prices are like insane for these stuff. It's like they'll do a collab with Nike, and the same thing you get a Nike outlet now because it has Malbon on it is $125 instead of $18.99.
Yeah, but they're doing a good job, right? Like they're getting the stuff is definitely different, right? But they're getting people talking about it. They're doing a great job of marketing it. They really are, because people in the golf industry, getting banned from the Masters is probably not the worst thing, right? Everyone talked about how I had to take it off. So they're making a splash, right? They're definitely bringing back more of like a lot of the 90s style, which is coming back in. I don't know if I can get used to the baggy pants yet, like I still like a more traditional Euro cut look to the stuff, right? But you got to give them credit. It's a higher price point. Like, am I going to be rolling it? Obviously not. I mean, I'm wearing the sub 70 stuff, but you got to give them credit from a marketing standpoint that they're making their name out there in a really tough industry to get attention on, and they're doing it. And for us, we always did it too, where if somebody sees the logo, well, what's with the clubs? We're always going to be a club company first, but doing the selling clothes, certainly with people recognizing the logo, hopefully they come back and look at the clubs then too, on top of the logo looking good. So we figured, what, let's do this. Let's build some stuff that we'd want to wear, and it's done really well. Like we have a lot of loyal customers who wear this stuff, and the more we can get that logo out there in front of people to see, the better it helps the overall business, because we're still a club company kind of first.
You are a club company first, but this type of merch in Asia, specifically Korea, Thailand, those people are not going to know like all the old brands. They're going to be like, this is popping. They're going to check out these customized clubs. You're going to be rolling in dough.
Hey, well, we're just, one brick at a time. We're going to be working hard each day. I know it sounds like a cliche, to earn people's business and trust that we're building the clubs at the highest level we can do it at. And hey, if you're looking good in the merch, that doesn't hurt the brand at all, right? I mean, probably one of the smartest things we ever did was give away free hats with every order at first. So if you ordered a set of clubs, you got that hat that you're wearing. Right? We just put it in the box because we figured people, A, love free hats, and B, they like the logo. So that's like been the best advertisement. I don't know, God, how many, I probably have given away, I don't even want to know, 150,000 free hats or something at this point. I don't know how many free hats are out there. It's worth every penny of doing it, right? Because it's the best advertising ever, of having people seeing that logo and maybe even asking, like, what is that? I get that a lot, like, oh, that's kind of a cool logo. What is that? And it gives you an opportunity to kind of explain what we do. So
what's interesting, I'm basically down to the last two buttons. I don't know about your head because you also look like you have a large head, Jason. I
Let's
have
see.
a very large head too.
I got 3.
Who would have
I'm
thunk it?
three.
I have a bigger head than you.
You do. Bigger brain. Bigger brain.
I didn't want to say it. I didn't want to
Big-
throw it out there.
Bigger brain.
So, Jason, you got all this opportunity ahead, but you also have these new threats, I would say, of like Costco coming into the golf market.
Mhm.
And, what is your feeling on Costco now trying to get in there? PXG is also, and I saw this advertisement maybe with 8 months ago, 10 months ago, putting out $80 fit irons. Everyone wants a piece of this sub 70 action now. And you also have the old guys, the other, direct competitors like the Tacomos, etc.
Yeah. I
are we
would
doing
say, well, Costco is definitely, like, people love the Kirkland stuff, like from all the brands, the liquor and all the rest of it. You're not going to get it customized, but they're trying to hit a price point, and it's a good golf club, right? Like it is. So they've got their niche, and they've got a strong following with the Costco brand of Kirkland stuff, right? And the golf ball, when it came out, was like a cult classic. And I would say for their price point and not having it customized, it's a good club. Like those wedges they had, people would come into sub 70 and get fit at the 70. And I mean, it's not the greatest wedge in the world, but certainly I was never like, let's get rid of this thing. It's terrible. It was fine, right? Like it was a good wedge. PXG is a very worthy competitor. Dr. Bob Parsons is a billionaire. You don't get to that level of success by being bad at what you do. I have nothing but respect for him. Like he's a tremendous businessman. And hopefully, like, it makes us better, right? Like, because the competition is heating up in the direct-to-consumer market. We hope with what we're doing, and especially the stuff we have and the new stuff that's coming out is better than ever, that we're going to not focus as much on trying to we can't be the cheapest guy out there because of the materials and stuff that we're using. We make the same margin on every product. If it costs more, it's because we have more money into the head. What we're still trying to do is build the best products in the world and have the ability to customize it. But the competition is heating up, and like all industries, as it matures, the weak get pushed out. So compared to 3 or 4 years ago, the competition is better, and we knew that was probably coming, right? And I always, like I said, man, it's a tough business to make it work. And any of the guys that are successful at it, I tip my hat to them. I know how hard it is, but if we've got more competition than ever, then it just pushes us harder to make the products and the customer service and what we're doing better than ever. And we feel like the products we have coming out next year, a bunch of new stuff, they will be absolutely world-class.
Final question regarding Costco. You know that TaylorMade is suing Costco. You have the TaylorMade P790s. TaylorMade apparently thinks that the Costco irons are a little too similar. I've hit both, and I'm a huge Costco driver fan. I did not like the irons at all. I don't see the similarity between the P790, but you have more of the CAD drawing.
Yeah, I saw those same pictures, and I didn't dig into the lawsuit to see what part. I mean, you really need a patent attorney to tell you on that one. Normally, historically, golf companies suing each other, like take TaylorMade and PXG, or PXG suing TaylorMade, they ended up splitting the patents. Like very rare. I mean, it's certainly not like, in my opinion, they knocked it off or dead knockoff of it, right? So it's going to be the minutia and the interpretation of the patents and how much coverage they have. Most of these things get settled, and most of them turn out to be a nothing burger at the end of the day, except the lawyer's making a bunch of money and not much happening from it. My guess is if the past repeats itself in the future, Costco has more money than TaylorMade. They can pay a bunch of expensive lawyers for a couple of years to battle it, then the thing gets settled. And then they'll come out with another club again. Something to that extent.
I mean, it sounds good. I'm going to go with you on that one. I've got one big kind of wrap-up concept question right now, and it's more about golf YouTubers. Mm-hmm. I'm surprised that no one's come up with a model. Like in Korea, what you do is you have a bunch of like 12-year-olds, and they never go to school, and you don't let them sleep much, but they're just dancing all the time. And then you put them in little groups, and eventually one of them makes it big, and then you have a little Korean boy band. I'm surprised no golf company has created their own little boy band golf YouTubers, like a good type, but you grew them yourself. And then so then you tied them in, you already locked them in, so they depending on you for the exposure, but it's a kind of a win-win situation, and they can sing and they can dance and they can golf.
you may be onto something. It's something that we're looking at in the future is, as our marketing budget gets bigger and golf is going more towards YouTube from an entertainment standpoint, right? It's something that we're probably going to have to tackle at some level. And I think it'd be really fun and exciting and build some really cool content. I don't know exactly what yet. I mean, if you're looking for a side gig and if you can sing and dance and, shoot a couple under par, we might be interested in, having you come on board. I don't know what other, antics you're going to have to do to get some views, but, I'm up for anything. I mean, you just direct me.
I would be overbearing Korean manager, and we would sign these kids, and it would be like the Korean boy band contracts where they end up with like 0.05%. So
and then
it's always a win.
Do you scream at them then at some point?
Non-stop. That's why I was key in the beginning. The food's limited because you can't have them beef out at all. They got to stay lean. So
right.
we're keeping them at 1,200 calories a day. Throw in a hat, they're good.
Right. And then you're just going to be like the overbearing 80s dad from the boys band type thing.
The whole thing. Just no one comes out without PTSD.
Can you imagine that shit show? No pun intended. Oh man, we would get some views on that and probably a few lawsuits and some therapy bills, but it would make a splash.
Video, though, yeah,
oh,
no, we've been upfront and honest. You can watch it. There's nothing. We're not hiding anything. You sign it. You're famous. You're not rich, and you end up with all the other issues of child actors.
I mean, I have a pretty warped sense of humor. So if we went down this rabbit hole after, with a few cocktails, I can't imagine where this could wind up. But it could be a hell of a lot of fun. Put you that way.
Well, I think we're at its point in time. You got growth opportunities. There's a lot of people out there. They can sign contracts they won't understand. There's a lot of money to be made. And
they don't need lawyers. I mean, advise them to sign this without a lawyer while intoxicated or something as well. I mean, we don't want any of this to be like on the up and up or anything.
So, if you've watched Love is Blind, they always have the golden chalices in every scene. I've got a gold whistle on. And every time there's any type of disrespect, I blow that whistle.
That's it. Right. And too many whistle violations, you could get thrown out of the program too, right? He's out. Then maybe you bring him back in so the fans want to see him. The fans can vote him back in. We could have all kinds of... See, my normal life, I try to have no drama, but we could have all kinds of drama on this one going on.
You're actually going to think about this after this podcast is over.
Now I'm going to be sitting up at 2 a.m. at some point thinking, how do I make this work? And how bad will I have to embarrass myself being on this, playing a character that I not am? But hey, for enough views, give me a few cocktails, I'll do it. I don't know what role I'm playing though yet. Am I the confused owner? Where am I at on this?
Easy. You need to see the script. I'll send it to you later.
Oh God, I can only imagine. But no, we are it is something we're thinking about doing in the sense that I think people are watching as much of that as much as professional golf, if not more. Like people are viewing in to see that stuff versus regular tour events. At least the numbers are showing that a little bit. So it's something we're going to have to tackle at some point.
I mean, we know the formula. Real golf world. Real road golf rules. We've seen the shows before. You just put the word golf in there. America's next top golf YouTuber. It's not rocket science at this point.
And then you just run with it, and they got to have sub 70 garb. And there's an Eastern general war general like yourself, just telling them how it's going to be.
Just people hate him, but at the end they realize he has a heart of gold.
At the end, you're looking out for their interests. So then you got to go from heel to hero at some juncture in this.
Well, at the end they're really hungry, so I let them have some dessert, and then just fade to black.
Sweet pea you are. I mean, it's ruthless but effective.
Folks, Jason Hiland took time out of his busy schedule to come on the show. Check out Sub 70 Irons. As an Asian value guy, I'm going to go look them up right now. There's so many options. They're dwindling because it's going to go from 13 to 7 or so. So get the more rare versions now. Jason, thank you so much for being on.
Fun as always. Let's do it again.